Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast where we have real, unfiltered conversations with women about what it takes to thrive in today's modern, fast paced world. I'm your host, Tiffany Simms, and today we are talking with Julia from Alive with Possibility. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to shout out the Modern Woman Society. The Modern Woman Society is a high performance coaching container for women who can't afford to burn out or stall in their growth because too many people depend on their leadership. Inside the Modern Women's Society, we break free from outdated hustle culture and learn how to scale our impact without the exhaustion, guilt, shame, or sacrifice success used to demand. If that speaks to you, be sure to click that link below to learn more. We look forward to getting to know you. All right, Miss Julia, welcome to the show. I am so excited for us to sit down and actually chat.
Me too.
I see you on so many calls. And so I'm actually really, really genuinely excited to do this.
Same here. Thank you
So
for
Miss
having me.
Julia, tell us what makes you you? What makes your heart sparkle? What brings you joy in this world?
So yeah, I was thinking about that for a while because it's a very interesting question. I would say it's I'm very interested in human potential
Mhm.
and what what's possible. That's why my business name is Alive with Possibility, because I'm so curious about what's possible for us to experience as human beings, experience, create, express, contribute, like what, and I like to use the metaphor of an acorn. You know how an acorn it's coded to become an oak. Like it has a coding inside of it, and it knows what to do to become an oak. And all it does, it follows this evolutionary impulse, and it becomes this huge, amazing tree. And I believe that human beings, we also are coded. We are coded to become the most incredible version of ourselves. And that's what I love to explore. Like that's, you
And
know,
can I just, this is so weird to someone who doesn't get it, but I'm like, can I just crawl into your body and us talk about this all day long? Because me too. Me too.
that's funny. Yeah.
So fascinating. And how, no matter what happened to us yesterday, there is a different option to have a different today.
Mhm.
And for everyone that looks a little different, but that there's these little markers here and there that usually always lead to success. You know what I mean? And learning and curiosity and growth and play and all of those realizations of huh, those processing moments. And so I get really giddy when I meet someone else who doesn't think it's weird to talk about the processing that goes into just absorbing your change.
Yeah, I mean, I think processing is a very important part of that too, because it's like you learn from that, right? Like you learn and you kind of like pivot, 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 and that's how you grow.
Yeah, that self-awareness piece. A lot of people don't know this, Julia, but what we just described, that out that processing piece is a big reason why this show exists. Is
Mhm.
because when I look back at myself in the early years of learn first discovering personal development and becoming really self-aware on a different level, I was having all these conversations that ever with myself that everyone was like, what is wrong with you? That's weird. No one thinks like that. That's not true. So I thought that something, not that I was broken because I was very convicted that they were wrong and I was onto something, but that I was having all these conversations. And I felt alone and I felt a little crazy and I felt a little weird and I didn't know how to process it. And then as I've grown and entered higher different rooms, I'll say it that way, and I've entered different rooms with people who are also on a growth oriented track, all of them process like this. It's like these realizations of what we thought to be true, that we learned something about ourselves, a different vision came to be, we chased it, we learned this thing. And there's so much out loud processing happening in the rooms I sit in now. And I want to bring that to other people who are in those stages so they don't feel so crazy and alone. But no, we see you, we hear you, we get you, you're on the right path.
Yeah, For sure. And I think it's a very good idea to surround yourself with people who are, interested in the same, because it's like, imagine if you go to corporate, for example, like I worked in corporate for 2 years. I only lasted for 2 years. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I mean, they don't really care about what's happening on the inside. It's like you deliver your whatever, and that's all they care about. So, like, if you're gonna go and start talking about, oh, I had this realization this morning, they're like, we don't care. Just like deliver what we want you to. But when we surround ourselves with people who get it, like it's very nourishing. And what I find is that it amplifies the level of realization, because it's kind of like when you process on your own, you sort of have this like cyclical thinking, and you're sort of like trapped in your own mind. But when you share it with somebody else and someone kind of like shares their perspective, and it opens up something new for you, and it's kind of just, it just like goes, in cycle like that, and everybody grows together. You
Yes. Or if someone will say something, you're like, but wait, hold on, time out. Like, have you thought, like, what about when you insert weird question, weird curiosity, purely because you're being curious? And then all of a sudden the person on the other side doesn't feel like you're attacking them or telling you what they just shared with you, it was wrong. They're like, all of a sudden they're sitting there pondering, like, huh, I don't actually know. And you start talking out loud, the two people, and you just start socializing these ideas that you literally didn't have 10 minutes ago. And all of a sudden you get to, like, you feel so alive. At least I feel really alive and almost enlightened. You're like, huh, got a little new pep in my step. And it's just so much fun for my brain. It's like brain food.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking as you're talking is, aside from that, there's actually another benefit to it. It's not directly related, but when people get together and like chat, just like talk about things, it helps to release more oxytocin in
Mm.
the body. So it actually creates, how you have this feeling of well-being after you've been, and it's like, I feel so good, and it's because when we do that, it helps the body to release more oxytocin, and it's a very well-being hormone. So you support your.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That like that was the word I'm looking for. Like that explains that feeling and why this morning I was listening to my brain's moving faster than my mouth. I'm gonna try again. This morning I was listening to like a YouTube video. I was trying to like hype myself up for the day. I was feeling a little off. And it was talking about how like great leaders and thinkers, they talk about ideas and concepts. Good people talk about like what's next, and like mediocre or low vibe people talk about people. And so it makes sense to me that those higher level conversations, not good or bad, but those higher level conversations would trigger oxytocin in the body and like create that high, because you don't get that high when you're talking about what so and so did, or like it sucks the life out of you. Even if you're into gossip and you find it entertaining, it doesn't generate life in you. It like almost brings you into this like, ugh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely like the quality of the conversation. I studied with this lady, Diane Poole Heller, and she specializes in attachment, somatic attachment. So basically, like childhood, there's like childhood attachment, adult attachment. So it's all the same thing, but just different.
Okay.
She calls it contact nutrition. So, you know how people are typically like really focused on eating healthy and eating like the right food, and but her concept is contact nutrition. So it's like the quality of your connection with another person, it actually provides nourishment for your body. So like if you're talking about like what you were saying, like low vibe conversation, it's like eating in McDonald's, like I probably shouldn't say that on air, but like whatever, it's
You
like
can say it. We know what it means.
garbage food. Like, and then if you have high quality conversations, it's like eating gourmet, organic, very clean, very like, and it nourishes your body and contributes to your health. So it's really important, actually, like if you, because like your focus in your community is well-being, success, like, so it's like, I think it's very important to pay attention who you spend your time with, what kind of conversations you have, like what nourishes you in your life. Like look around your life. Do you have like, do you feel nourished by your environment, or do you look at your desk and you're like, there's like so much mess there, and you just like wilt like a flower because it's like so, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's it all, like all of this contributes to well-being and success and all that.
Have you always been someone who was curious about possibilities and thriving, or is there like a story where you like fell into it?
Well, I would say I think I always have been, but I noticed it probably, like I consciously noticed it, I would say probably after university. No, in the middle of university, because that's kind of where I started kind of branching off. But I grew up, I was born in a communist country, and in communist countries, it's like this, and you march to the beat of the drum of the authorities, and you have no options other than what they tell you you can do. And I'm a rebel. Like I was so not down with that, you know, and so yeah, so I always it's like if someone told me, well, this is how it is, this is how it has to be. I looked at it, I'm like, let's rearrange it. How about
Your
this?
own little Rubik's Cube. You're
Yeah,
like, actually, that doesn't work for me. Let me get all the colors aligned for you because you messed it up.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, yeah, so I was always like very curious about like, you know, like what's possible? Like what's possible if we step outside the box and explore beyond what people are telling you, that is, and I mean it's amazing. It's just like it's endless. Possibilities are endless. There's just like anything is possible. That's my conclusion so far.
Yes. I also, anything is possible. Like Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. Like there is already a version of you that has already achieved everything you've already thought you've ever thought of. Um, with that, like for you, we all have our own little processes and paths, but for you, like what does that look like for someone who is like in the beginning stages of discovering their own inner power and like taking charge to thrive? Like what does that process in your world look like? Where do you start people?
I would say, so start questioning. Like if someone tells you, like let's say you grew up in a very traditional family, I don't know, like let's say a very traditional Italian family, with very traditional rules, and this is how things happen, and this is who you marry, and this is when you marry, and this is what you do for, you know, if you feel that there's like just step outside of that for a moment. Like you don't have to tell anybody you're doing it, because like you might get like lots of backlash if you do. Just like ask yourself, but what if there's another way? I don't know if there's another way, but what if there is? And just follow that inquiry and see where it gets you. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. Mine's usually is very, very similar. And it's that question to myself of like, is this really true? Like, is because sometimes I'll be like, that won't work. And it's like, is that true? Are there people who have made that thing work? Well,
Mhm.
yes. So that means that it's not true. Or if I'm telling myself a story about the way that an interaction is going, I pause because sometimes, like, we're very dramatic storytellers and we're trying to protect ourselves, right? So if something's not quite right, we make up all of these reasons for why someone might not like us or why someone excluded us or why we were really invited to something. And so I pause and I ask that question of like, is that really true? Do you know that for sure? And it's like, actually, no, I was just making that up based off of a look I received or a feeling I had. And it's like, does that then mean that there could be another truth in this?
Yeah.
And exploring that.
Yeah.
So I love that, like very similar approaches for between the two of us.
Yeah, yeah, just like just question things. Exactly. It's like don't take things as status quo, like that's how it is, because nothing is really how it is. Like the world is like very dynamic and very adaptable, and so like nothing really what it is. It's like it's just this is how you perceive it right now, but it could change. And
Yes.
I think it's important to be like open and fluent and available, like not like hold on to anything too tightly.
If I was to do this differently, what would that look like? Like, if I could make up how this is going to go, how would I do that? Like, so many cool ideas have been generated in my brain that way.
Yeah, there you go. And then do it. Exactly. It's like, and why? Because like I remember I was a part of mastermind once, and it was, I mean, the way, I mean, they were great women, but they were very kind of like, this is how entrepreneurship is done, like very, and one lady, she wanted to start a podcast, and she was like, and she had like some other ideas, and I told her, what if you start your podcast in a totally different way? Like in a, not in a, the traditional way of what a podcast is. And I just like connected a bunch of things that she wanted to do into this, one, and she loved it. It was totally outside of her kind of like concept of what's possible, but she loved it and she did it. And it's like, but who says that we can't create something new? I mean, honestly, like this world, it is the way it is right now, like the way we progress, because someone constantly says, but what if? But
And
what
why not let that someone be you?
if? Mhm.
Like, I think that's so magical and so powerful. What you just said, I think, is so powerful. Someone was out there who said, I don't know that I buy this. I want to try it another way. And
And
then
do
they figured it out.
yeah, like for example, okay, so there's you remember Blockbuster, the you know you had to like get into your car, drive, like borrow, like figure out which movie. I mean, it was a hassle. It was such a, I mean, it wasn't too big of a deal, but now that we have Netflix, we're like, oh, like why would you? And then Netflix came in, and they're like, well, wait a minute, what if we created an online version where, and what happened to Blockbuster? Like they're gone. And now Netflix is like it rules, like the world pretty much. And so it's like, so that's how it all happens. That's how evolution happens. We constantly, someone always comes in and says, but what if? But what if it could be different? And then they create it. I mean, some people just see, I'm an idea. Oh my God, I have so many ideas. It's like, I can't possibly create all the ideas I have in like 10 lifetimes. It just, so like, I just keep like giving ideas to people because like someone has to create it because this is like so cool, you know? Um, I forget where I was going with it.
Are
What
you
even,
a manifesting generator? Do you know your human design?
no, I'm a projector.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, it's all about like, so you have an
I'm
idea.
nodding like I actually know what that means. I just, I'm like, oh, yes, a projector. I know that word. I know that is one of the human design buckets.
You know what? I only know like this much about human design, and someone told me I'm a projector, and I'm like, well, I'm a projector.
Obviously, yes. I find it fascinating, and this is such a tangent. I find the concept of human design very fascinating. I also am very self-aware in that where I'm at currently, I don't think I should know all of those details because I don't want it to define me. Like, I think there's a time and a place for me to understand myself better in those areas of how I was designed, but right now isn't it? And so, like, I'm good knowing that I'm a manifesting generator and like I'm my own little power plant and that aligns and fits with me. But beyond that, like I don't want to set up roadblocks for myself. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. I think those tools are good. It's like when you want to understand yourself better. But you are your own person. And to be honest, I think the best approach is to go into nature and just get to know yourself and just like listen to what's happening on the inside, like your passions, your desires, your inside, and you'll find out you're actually really intelligent. It's like,
We are so smart. Our insides are really smart. It's that our logic and like our physical brain like blocks us from how incredible we are.
oh yeah, there's like so much wisdom, inner wisdom. And it's like, and then yeah, I over time, that's what I started doing because like I love learning. And I'm like very like bookworm. Like I studied after high school, but after I graduated, I kept studying until I was 41, I think. Like so like I was but at some point I was like, well, you know what? I don't need to learn anymore because it's great. All those concepts are really great, but the wisdom that's inside of me will always be the most important because it comes directly from me. It's my own life force. Um it's my own unique manifestation of who I am on this planet, like the human that I am on this planet. So it's like books are great, courses are great, but at the end of the day, this part of me, like me, all of me knows the best. Like my own advice is the best advice for me. That's you know, and
Yes, my whole soul says yes.
yeah,
Right? And then for those naysayers who are like, well, if I was the best thing, I wouldn't be struggling with this. I wouldn't My relationship with food would be better. I wouldn't be like addicted to drinking. I would know what I was doing. I wouldn't be struggling. And my response to that is that we just have a whole lifetime of being told that our intuition was wrong. When you're little and you fall down and your parents were trying to make it better because they didn't want you to cry and they knew nothing was broken, when your whole body was screaming like it's not okay, someone was telling you you were fine. And so it was like those little seeds of like your body is wrong and the outside world knows what's best for you to like no, we cannot eat right now. You just ate, you're not hungry. So then it's like, oh, my body, the hunger pains. It's like, oh, my body is wrong. I'm not actually hungry. The outside world knows better than me. So it's just these little moments over time, coupled with in my thoughts, it's like that coupled with like the coping mechanisms that we develop, the habits and patterns and coping mechanisms to survive some really hard times, all of a sudden they become our identity and like we have to shed them. And so like it's all this over programming where I'm blinking, I'm breathing, my blood is pumping while I'm talking to you, and I'm not telling my body to do any of that. Like it was designed to thrive and be magnificent. And I have to learn, I feel like every day I have to practice like learning how to tune back in to my own
yeah,
frequency and wavelengths.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like as if we actually listen, and
I love that
sometimes
I'm just sitting here like,
I love it.
like, let me just crawl right next to you, Julia, and have this conversation as close as possible.
Yeah, just like listen and follow through. Because like oftentimes, even when we do hear into like for example, when you eat, how many and I mean I still do it. Like I have to be conscious about not doing it. It's like let's say I'm eating because like I have a very, I have my own protocol. I decided like this is how I'm gonna eat, and I'm eating, and I do my best to tune into my body and follow what my body says, but oftentimes I keep on writing it. It's like, let's say I'm full, right? Like I ate, I made like whatever, like a dish, and I ate most of it, but now I'm full. And I always hear myself, but there's just a little bit left. Just finish that. Just finish that. But my body is like, but I'm full. I'm done. But my mind is like, no, but there's just like, what are you gonna do with this? Like, are you gonna throw it out? Like, you're gonna pack? And oftentimes I actually finish it, even though my body said I'm full. So it's like it's hard, but I think the more we learn to really honor the message of that's really the key. That's the key to success, to well-being, to everything. And the same thing in relationships, like how often do we skip over what is important to us, or what we, right? Exactly. Me too. It's so natural. It's so like, especially for women, to be honest, because like women are like very more like people pleasers. We tend to be like in pleasing mode. uh and how often do we skip over our inner conversation? It's like, oh, I don't like it. Oh, of course, yes, I do want more, like. And what happens in the body? First of all, we lose trust in ourselves, and then we undermine the well-being of our body, so it's like, yeah, the key is but it's also not easy, because we're in society, right? So, and in society there's also aspects where you can be fully individualized, because then society has trouble functioning, right? Like, so it's like, so there needs to be a balance. It's like you want to find a balance between honoring yourself
Yeah.
and being in society in a way that generates harmony, versus like this constant like, no, no,
Yes.
or
Yeah. It's like, how do I take agency over myself and have full autonomy while also knowing how I fit into the bigger picture?
yeah, yeah, and just like interacting with each other in a way that where everybody can still be themselves, and we can create this harmony together as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky.
Because, yeah, it's like that is, I don't use the word balance very often, but that is the balancing act, right? Of like how you do it. And everyone has to participate for it to really work well.
Yeah,
Because if one cog is off, it just is off kilter, and now you're like thudding along like a broken wheel.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And you were saying about like trusting your gut and like your intuition and your inner knowing, like how many times, and I'm gonna like, I can't tell you how many times my gut knew something was off. And I was like, don't be so dramatic. You're being too sensitive. Like, there are no facts. You're just being like, you're making this up. My body knew without the facts, and I decided that my body was wrong. And then I got myself into things, sometimes 5 years later, let's talk about relationships, right? And all of a sudden, you're like, how did I not know? And then when it's over and the dust settles, you're like, I
You,
did know, I just didn't have the supporting evidence to allow myself to trust that feeling with everything I had.
yeah, yeah. I heard so many stories of people getting married, and I mean, I even have a friend, like, I mean, she's divorced now, but like, she told me, as she was walking down the aisle, she knew that she should not be marrying the dude. And she just kept walking down the aisle, and she said yes. And 20 years later, she said no. 20 years later, you know,
Yeah.
it's, but you know what? Like, to give ourselves credit, human beings are very social beings. We survive in tribes, right? Like in a herd. So it's not just like a weakness or anything. It's not like, oh, we're like, so, like we can't, it's
What
not.
is wrong with me? Why am I so broken?
I know. Yeah, but it's not. It's like it's instinct. So
Yeah.
in a way, what we're doing is we want to survive. Like it's our instinct to survive, but the key is to catch it, and just to realize that, well, first of all, society at this point, like, you'll be okay if you say no.
Yes.
Like, if you were, let's say, in cave times, and you said no to something, you might be killed. You know, no, you
Someone
might.
else will take you in.
Yeah,
Another group will welcome you.
yeah,
But and I love that too, because sometimes we want to, like, when we learn things and it really really hurt, we want to dig in and like everything become black and white, of like everyone who says this thing, it's always going to turn out this way. And I think the best thing that I have learned for myself is like the power of the pause when I have that like unsettling feeling, to be like, what is this? Because that feeling for me, I don't know if this is, I'm curious to know if this is true for other people, but the feeling is very similar for when I'm when my flags are going off of like, hey, ding dong, like you missed a cue. This is not safe, not a good place to be. And for when I'm uncomfortable doing something I haven't done before. And so, like, I've learned to just pause and get curious about what is causing me that discomfort. And that allows me to know if it's like, oh, I've been ignoring these red flags and I need to like pay attention versus that, like, oh, we're doing something uncomfortable because we've never done this before. We're growing in a new way, and we just need to sit through this discomfort because this is what practice feels like.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you experience something like that? Is that like a universal thing?
Yeah, and yeah, I think it is universal. And I think so when I studied in university, we had a course, it was neurophysiology of relaxation. And basically the professor said, and I think there's like lots of research about it now. It's so our gut is actually much more intelligent even than the mind. And so it's like this feeling you have in your gut, like it's real. Like it's not like you ate some, I mean, you might have eaten something bad, but like uh that feeling is your second brain. It's like your gut knows. uh it receives information just in different ways. So yeah, it's and I love how you pause and actually like tune in and ask yourself, well, what is it about? Because it could be about a few different things. Like it's not always about something bad. Sometimes, as you said, yeah, it's just like this discomfort of, oh, well, this is something new. Am I gonna be safe? I don't know. Like this is. So it's like it's good. It's good to like pause and listen and just decide on your next steps after you listened and honored your feeling versus like skip it over it, push it through, looking back, and it's like, why did I do
Yeah. And sometimes it's as simple as like, oh, I'm scared because when I was such and such, this happened to me. And
that?
then
Mhm.
that gives me an opportunity to be like, oh, okay, well, that happened because we didn't know X, Y, and Z, or we didn't know how to do this, or we didn't have this tool. And now we're here and we have the tools. Like, we're not going to have the same outcome this time because we've learned some things since then. And so like it's like that opportunity for me to like hold the hand of a previous version of me to let her know I got it and that we're going to be okay. But still it comes in that pause and not in an override, but in a they like, "Oh, you're right. Like it makes sense why I'm having this feeling. Here's all the reasons why it will be different. It might not be a better outcome, but like it will be different than last time. And if we have to learn something, we'll add that tool to our toolbox too."
Yeah, and you can also like it gives you an opportunity to also like figure out, okay, well, what kind of support do you need? You know, you're in a new situation. This is something new. Uh, how can you like create a structure around yourself where you can assure your safety, or at least like do your best? Obviously, you can never assure it, but like, yeah, what can you? So it's kind of like instead of like pushing yourself to do it, even if it's uncomfortable, it's like, well, let's not push. Let's just like create circumstances that are very pleasant and comfortable and safe, and then step into the new thing in a very pleasant way instead of like, oh my God, I'm doing something
That
new.
is such gold. That right there, that was gold. So true. Oh my
I
gosh. I
think
feel like we shared so many good nuggets today. Like just so much gold. If you're listening, like you're gonna need to go back and listen again. Like there are so many different examples for you to like take lessons from. I encourage you to grab your notebook and get back to the beginning and start writing those things out for yourself. Julia, how do we connect with you outside of the show?
well, I do two different things actually. So one thing I do, I build communities. So like my website is alivewithpossibility.ca. And it's all about what's possible, like what's possible to create, what can we create. And the second website focuses specifically on health and well-being, and that's holisticselfcarecommunity.com. So yeah, you can reach out to me either way, like whatever you're interested in. I'm very curious about everything. So you can reach out to me about many different things. Like I probably will be able to
Go
support
be a human with this woman. Go be
you.
a human with another human and experience life with other people.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
I feel so I say this every single time, but like it's so true. And I feel like we live in this society where like we're afraid to start conversations because we're supposed to know everything because we scrolled past someone's stuff and we've been watching them. And it's like you haven't actually met them yet. Like go introduce yourself, say hello, say I really enjoyed this thing, or I was curious about whatever the topic was that you were curious about. So go be human for the love of all things and connect with Julia. She is such a sweet lady. She won't bite you, I promise. Um, Julia, as we wrap up today, like there's just been so much gold that you gifted us in your conversation. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that's left on your heart that you wanted to share before we go?
Well, I want to share. There's like I have a favorite quote from Mary Oliver. I love Mary Oliver, and I just want to make sure I remember exactly how it goes. It's what will you do with your one wild life? No, she says, "Tell me, what will you do with your one wild life?" And that's the question I want to leave people with. It's like you have, I mean, I believe in many lifetimes, but like this lifetime, this is the only lifetime you have in this body. What will you do with this one wild life that you have? And I hope you'll do something really amazing.
That is so cool. I encourage you to drop it in the comments below. What will you do now that we've been here? What you've been exploring? What will you do? Drop it below. Julia, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. With that, that's Humans Talking, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this episode as inspiring and actionable as I did. If you're ready to stop just surviving and start living a life where your health, your relationships, and your career work together without the burnout, then it's time that you join the Modern Women's Society. Inside, I'll walk you through my life GPS system, a proven blueprint to help you have it all while thriving. You'll gain tools, coaching, and the kind of clarity that brings big dreams to life without the stress, overwhelm, guilt, and shame that the modern woman is used to. We're going to create a life where you feel energized and excited to wake up every day and fulfilled when you put your head on the pillow. Click the link below to learn more and join countless other women who are redefining success on their terms. Because the life you've dreamed about is closer than you think. I'll see you on the inside.